I'm Megan Stith with United Way of Central Kentucky, and we so appreciate the time that you have made, which we know this is a very busy time of year. You all have so many places you could be today and things you could be doing that it really means a lot to us that you've taken out the time to learn how together we can better expand the impact of our local United Way. To get us started, I thought it'd be great for us to all know who's in the room so we can make the best use of your time today and customize what we talk about and what we share really in a conversation, not a presentation format, but really customizing our discussion to your needs today. Without further ado, I would like to introduce not only a wonderful champion for United Way, but someone who I'm really lucky to consider a friend and have gotten to know over the last year of working with him as our 2015 campaign chair. Greg Milby is a voice many of you likely recognize from his work on the Greg and Holly Morning Show with Quixie Radio, and he was just such an amazing asset to our campaign last year, and asked him to come share yet again. I don't know honestly why he picks up my phone calls anymore, but he said yes to our invitation to be here to share his enthusiasm and support for United Way with you as such key volunteers and supporters in this effort. So Greg? You know how to talk into a mic, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you first of all for coming, and I always answer Megan's call, but you weren't the first one that hit me. Krista did. I learned quickly when you get an email there, usually you're going to be going somewhere. No offense, Krista. I'll tell you, last year was, this last campaign was just an amazing opportunity for me to learn not only about United Way, but about this community even more. I felt like I knew the community, and so I got a chance to go out and go in a lot of different workplaces and see how things operate, and had a chance to share and even get picked on by a few. Won't mention anybody over here in the corner. But, you know, I spent a lot of time thinking about what United Way means to me. I didn't realize what it means to me. It is like the hub of hope. It is the ultimate superhero movie. It's like the Justice League. You're taking so many great organizations and charitable groups that are doing such great work, and you're putting them all together under one umbrella to work. And you guys get the opportunity to start that in your workplace and share that. We've had Megan on once a month, kind of a recurring thing. But for a while, it seemed like Quixie was United Way. We were W United Way. Because every time they had something going on, we wanted to promote it. But you know what? United Way is doing so much stuff, it almost gets to the point you have to say, hold on a second here. Which is a great problem to have. And it took me a little bit to realize that. And as we're going to all these 160 some odd campaign meetings last year, you get different stories, the success stories, and it was just amazing to me to know about these stories, because they're everybody. They're the kids that you play ball, your kids play ball with, or the parents you do other activities with. They have United Way stories. I always say in the meetings that my dream is, you know, you can't take your money with you, but you can leave a mark, and that's all we all really truly want to do, is leave a mark in the world. And you may not know the mark you're leaving when you do the work with the United Way and through your campaign, but you're leaving a big mark. And you're not just changing somebody's day, you're changing their future. You're changing their kids' future. So you're making a big difference. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the efforts you guys are doing. And if you have to, let me know. I mean, I'll shake people upside down. We'll get some coins loose, whatever we have to do. I'm not against dunking booths either, so just let me know. But thank you for your time, and we appreciate all you're doing.
All right, well, before we get started into things that are campaign related, wanted to give you all an update of some things that have been in the works since we saw you last and last year's campaign kicked off. We are really grateful for a record amount of support that was leveraged, not only through the annual campaign, which raised another over $1.26 million, which is tremendous, but had the support of $96,000 worth of volunteer manpower that was leveraged throughout the year. Tremendous work being done by our agency agencies to stretch the dollars that we grant even further through extra donations of in-kind gifts, volunteer support, and an impact that touched 1 in 4 lives in our 5-county region. Over 60,000 people impacted, which is tremendous and such a team effort. So I wanted to say thank you to each of you for being part of a year that was more impactful on such a measurable level in so many ways. Things that we're working on currently and have been over the last several months include a 2020 strategic plan, which if you are one of those people that wants to know how the watch works and not just what time it is, and you would like to see where we are moving in the next several years leading up to 2020, you're more than welcome to visit our website, and we're putting this out publicly because United Way belongs to our community, and we want input from the community. We want you to know here's where we're moving as an organization. We're really with a vision for our region, so we are excited to see this plan take shape and are moving into the next process of implementation. And one of the things that I hope for you, as many of you being employers, will be of value to you is an increased focus on engaging people who are receiving services through our programs, increasing their engagement in the workforce. Because unfortunately, if I ask HR folks to go around the room and ask you how your employment searches are going, or how your experience is filling positions with workers who will show up and do the job and be reliable and dependable. We unfortunately hear that there is a huge challenge with that locally and have heard that for several years. So we've got some great options and models that we're looking at as to how to increase engagement and looking at work as a solution, not to some of the immediate needs, but a longer term plan for how do we move families along this continuum of, and sorry, it's a little hard to see here with the lighting, but not just meeting their basic needs, but a planned progression to get their kids ready for school, keep them supported through mentoring relationships as they get older, providing financial education, and then ultimately a stable job and employment where that family can provide for themselves, with the goal of giving back and being an engaged and contributing member of our community. And to achieve that vision, we really need to provide a clear pipeline for those families into the workforce and taking an approach that will remove barriers that they face to that engagement. That's why we've been talking about things like transportation, because we've heard that from you all, again, as our customers, and meeting with companies regularly throughout the year, hear that that is a barrier on some level, either for people to access employment on any level or also progress in their employment where they can take possibly a better job or a higher paying job. Seeing that as a piece that United Way is uniquely positioned not to bring mass publicly funded transit bus systems. That's not the solution we're advocating for. We are advocating for the community to come together and sit around tables just like this and share their expertise and solutions and figure out, okay, what can we do about this? Because we know there's a need, but we have the best resource of all in our community, which are smart people, problem solvers. And if you all are as frustrated by watching the news as I am lately, we want to A, let people make their voice heard, and B, find solutions, because that is the thing that I think all of us want to be part of. We don't want to see problems continue to persist. And transportation, I can't stand before you today and say we have that all solved as a matter of as a result of an hour and a half meeting, but just in the last several weeks, we've made great progress in finding some smaller scale options through technology, through collaborations, through interagency work together. So really excited to keep you posted on the results of that ongoing conversation. But the reason we're having meetings like that summit is, again, to help our community solve its own problems and not wait for a government solution or millions of dollars to fall in our lap and provide something that has been studied. We are here to help figure out where we can start today and look forward to keeping you posted on that progress. We do have, as a result of the generosity of our community in last year's campaign, an increased number of agencies and programs that are able to serve our entire 5-county region. We have now 35 funded programs and 25 different agencies. These will all still be eligible for designations through your campaign, and all listed on the back of your campaign, your pledge form that will be given out during your workplace campaign. The two new agencies that were funded, as well as the agencies that were funded the previous year, include Silverleaf Sexual Trauma Recovery, and they do amazing things with kids who have suffered tremendous impacts and things that are unimaginable to endure at any age, much less abuse of that nature as a child. And our community investment team, that volunteer group who makes those grant decisions, saw value in that service because we see so many of the problems that adults have in being stable and productive and contributing members to our community often have some kind of unresolved mental health or untreated or undiagnosed underlying condition. And if we see children who have suffered sexual trauma at a young age, how can we intervene and provide them with the therapy that they need? And this is an agency that, of all the things that we do, I can say there's no way I could do this work on a day-to-day basis. They are angels to be able to deal with such terrible choices made by adults that impact children, but they are doing tremendous work, and we wanted to be part of that in order to help address these issues and give the children the help and support that they need so we can prevent those types of negative ways of dealing with that type of abuse later on in life. Another new program is through Hardin County Adult Education. We are providing a life coach who will help adults who need to go back to education and gain their GED. Often, if you're dealing with an adult who reads at a 6th grade level, there are going to be a multiple number of issues or challenges that that person faces. And unfortunately, there are people who have fallen through the cracks of the system and do not have the education they need to even be eligible to get a job in our community. So in order to not just say, here, take the test and take that one piece of the problem off the table, in order to really address the multiple interconnected issues that are going on with that individual, providing this life coach will help look at the multiple things that that person might need to be able to help move them to that next level of self-sufficiency, and a really innovative way of providing services through that wraparound type life coach support. Another new approach that I'm excited to share, and Gary, feel free if I leave anything out here, but is a partnership with Helping Hand of Hope and our local school districts here in Hardin County and Elizabethtown, to provide wraparound life coaching for families who are moving between multiple schools a year. So, for example, we had heard from Hardin County Schools just last week, they had cases of children being in 4 to 6 different schools per school year, which means if I know how hard it is just to make sure my little one is learning everything he needs to and going into 1st grade now. Can you imagine if you were in 4 to 6 different schools in a school year? There's no way that child is going to be on track or be successful that year, and likely will be behind, and then we'll have a problem that we'll have to deal with later down the road because it's so much more difficult to get them caught up. So what this collaboration will do is identify those children where we are seeing instability in the home overall and provide life coaching for those parents, and again, dealing with their other issues, which are oftentimes several, including transportation, childcare, rent, security deposits, things that there actually is no agency out there either that provides or there are not integrated services to where we haven't been able to fully address the root challenge that that family is having. So with this type of life coach support, we'll have a better way of networking between the agencies and really giving the family what they need rather than, okay, we'll pay for this month's rent and then we'll see you again in 2 or 3 months when you probably are going to get behind again. How we move away from that type of reactive approach towards one that really stabilizes that whole family and ultimately has a positive impact on that child. So a really new approach, a different way of delivering services, which we are excited to see happening here locally after being studied and having a data-driven approach on a national level. So again, something we're excited to share in campaigns, that this is something we're doing because you all have provided the resources to support our work year after year, but also a great success story we look forward to keeping you posted about. All right, so I will be turning things over. You all are almost done hearing from me today, and I will totally get out of the way. But Miss Katie Kurtz, she is the newest staff member of our team, but has done a fantastic job making the things that you're looking at today, working in development and communications with our local United Way. And she's going to talk to you and share a few more tips about tools that can help your campaign and be used in your workplaces and customized to not only get new donors excited, but also provide your employees value throughout the year.
Okay. I'll try not to drop this while I'm talking. So yeah, my role at United Way started last year in September. It's been a whirlwind since then, a complete career change for me, but I'm happy to be here today to share some of this information with you. So first we're going to start off by talking about your loaned executive, what a loaned executive is essentially. We have some of you in the room. And of course, all of this is going to be covered in your manuals that you have in front of you, your guides. You can't hear me? Sorry. I'll try to project. All of this is going to be covered in your guide and your manual there that you have in front of you. Some of you have an LE guide, some of you have an ECM guide, so just follow along with me here. An LE essentially is there to act as an extension of our United Way staff, so they will be your point of contact for campaign. Each of you would be assigned an LE, whether it be a United Way staff member or someone from one of our nonprofit partners, such as Mr. Bohannon, who's in the room. But basically what they're there to do is to help guide you through campaigns, so they'll be there to help you set your campaign meeting time, answer questions you have, help you get the materials you need. Of course, you're always welcome to reach out to us directly, but they are there to provide a support system essentially. With 160 something campaign meetings, these folks are phenomenal because we couldn't do it without them. But essentially, their goal is to, again, act as an extension of our staff. And then what does an LE do? In addition to what I have said, they also keep us updated on the status of everything. So once you have a campaign that's run, they then report back to us. They'll be there to collect pledge forms. They'll be there to collect your pledge report form. They'll report back to us how the campaign went. And again, all of you will be assigned an LE throughout this. So is there any questions about an LE or what they do? I don't want to dive too deep into it. Okay. So your campaign toolkit, we have lots of resources for you this year. Again, you have a couple of these in front of you. Your guide there is essentially today's presentation in a nutshell. So if you have anyone that you want to share that with, we'll be sending all this material out to you. We could also give you extra copies of those if you have members of your campaign team who couldn't be here today. We're recording the session today as well, so that will also be uploaded to our YouTube page if you have other people that you would like to watch it. In going through the campaign coordinator's guide, lots of tools in there for you to use. Tells you a little bit about what United Way does. There's a couple of success stories in there, in addition to the funded partners Megan was talking about earlier. In addition, we are going over some campaign basics, which we'll dive deeper into throughout this. The Power of a Dollar is a great resource. I know before I worked at United Way, I worked at a bank, and that is how I gave, honestly, when I saw $2 will do this, but $5, that could really make an impact. So when you're talking about your work, referencing what just $2 does, $5 does, can be really impactful. So there's some examples in there of that. You also have a campaign timeline and a campaign plan checklist in your coordinator's guide. Those are really helpful tools to make sure that you've checked all the boxes off. I know from our standpoint, it's a lot of work and there's a lot of checklists. So I can only imagine from your standpoint and trying to coordinate this with your staff. But there is a plan in there for you. So it's what to do before, during, after campaign, and that's all listed in the guide for you as well. You also have an incentives and special events flyer in front of you. Those are just some great ideas about special events. And later during today, we're going to have some folks share with what they do at their campaign to maybe share some success stories and ideas and things like that.
What we do want to do is let people know throughout the year what's going on with United Way and offer opportunities to be informed about the results of their support, but also not constant asks. So if you would like to take that approach, we'll we'll help you be successful as much as we can, but also don't feel that pressure that we expect you as companies to constantly be fundraising throughout the year. I know I was at a chamber meeting a couple months ago, and there were 6 asks, I think, for different causes within about 20 minutes. And by the end of it, I was glad to see so many good things happening in our community, but I think we all get a little bit burned out with repeated opportunities to give our funds. So we certainly don't want to be contributing to that anymore that is necessary. And that's really the beauty of why that combined campaign is able to help make that singular ask for an impactful way to give back without multiple asks throughout the year. Okay. As we mentioned, you have a campaign plan in your manual. We'll work with your loaned executives. We will be connecting with them over the next several weeks and assigning out relationships so they'll know who to talk to at your company. And working through that plan together really will give us all the information that's needed to help make sure that this has been something that's well coordinated and thought out. And again, it gives us every opportunity to support you in the plans that you have for the next several months. So things like a leadership meeting is listed on there. We do have some companies like here at Mauser who are so grateful for hosting us today. They actually host a leadership giving luncheon, and thank you for doing that year after year, that is targeted towards more of their salaried level employees. We have a different type of presentation for that group, so it's sometimes salary can be in workplace, the other type of payroll deduction meetings that happen for general staff. We try to make it different for that group so they're not hearing the same thing multiple times. We also bring in a different type of volunteer leadership to really be a peer that can address that group and share their story. And this year's 2016 campaign, our leadership campaign chair is with us today. Ms. Trina Floyd has accepted that role and will, I guess, commit on her behalf as well as United Way. If you would like to do something different with a certain segment of your employees, we have seen such success with having those different meetings happen outside the traditional, typical payroll ask. And this is a leadership giving level that starts at $500 and up. So something that is a lot of money, $500 is a lot of money, but something we can easily spread out throughout the year with ongoing monthly credit card gifts and also payroll deduction. So Trina will be a great champion for that piece of our campaign and certainly can work that into any of your companies as well. Any questions about that so far? Okay. One other thing I wanted to make sure you all knew from us is sometimes companies, for example, will have employees that are harder for us to connect with. And again, if our goal is 100% contact, I've heard sometimes, oh, don't worry, we won't ask the maintenance people. They don't make very much money, and we'd have to have 4 different meetings to catch all of their shifts. What I can tell you is that is completely why we are here at United Way. That doesn't scare us. We do 14 meetings in 3 days with one of our largest companies. I had the chance, for example, to go out to Monument last year, and that was the first time I got to speak to multiple rounds of employees. That was a little early in the morning, so I was probably still waking up and getting my head in the game of what to say and how to say it. But we see in those types of settings where we had done a primarily electronic ask or giving out materials, we can see from year to year when you do have that 100% contact, that the giving does go up. So we've seen it. We are grateful when we've had opportunities to take it to that next level, but certainly never hold back in anybody that we can talk to. We've done campaign meetings with 4 people, and that sounds like, maybe wondering why would you drive to LaRue County for a meeting with 4 people? We walked away from that meeting with over $4,000 because we got to have a conversation about the issues that those employees were seeing in our community. I left wanting to give more money myself to United Way because it was such an exciting chance to sit with people and really talk about issues. So sometimes the small meetings can be the most meaningful and impactful. So certainly if we can do that on any scale, don't hesitate to let us come in multiple times. I think we've covered all of this at some point. The things that wanted to make sure we also heard from you on, we have tools that support all of these things. For example, sample messages, having some kind of endorsement within your staff, either from your plant manager, some kind of leadership endorsement is really valuable. our campaign video, a United Way story, and again, that can come from an agency or from one of our volunteers that we're training. And as well as setting a goal, and if you have any incentives, making sure people know what those are and how they can go about getting them. And those are explained a little bit more on this form, which has some great ideas. For example, if you're going to the extent of providing something like paid time off or a good parking space or a shirt you're raffling off or something like that, making sure people know how to turn in their forms and be eligible for that kind of incentive is important. And those are little things that sound like, if you're going to do this, wouldn't you make sure that this is available? But we don't want you to overlook there's little details sometimes that all of this can be done so well, but if there's a little detail like that, we just want to make sure that it doesn't fall off the radar of making sure people know how they can go about getting that. All right, so a couple other things I wanted to get your feedback on at this point is one question we hear a lot is should your meetings be mandatory or do you have optional meetings where, for example, you can say if you want to come meet with United Way, they'll be in the break room at this time. Has anyone seen success with one versus the other or have any experience of how they set up their meetings that you would like to share in terms of who has to be there? Anybody? Okay, well, I'll share an example. We have in order to ensure 100% contact, we highly recommend if you can have a meeting that is already scheduled, have us as part of that so we can most effectively reach as many people as possible. What we see is if you have you can come meet with United Way if you want at this time. People are very busy. We know how much goes on in the workplace. So to step away from what they are doing as employees and then to know that likely they're going to be asked to give on some level, there's not as much incentive for somebody to take that time out of their day to come on a voluntary basis. So again, not to say that we're forcing anybody to contribute, but if there's a way to make this, put this in a setting where there's more of a guarantee that you're going to have a good audience to be able to talk with and present to, that would be a use of your time that we would recommend, just so you don't put all the time and effort into scheduling these meetings and then don't have people in the room. Jennifer.
Actually, what we did last year, we had quarterly town hall all staff meetings.
Great.
It just happens all in September. That's when we invited you guys in. They were already expecting the meetings. So that really worked for us.
Great. Well, thank you for doing that, because I know that's a hard, when you're in the medical field, there's a lot of different shifts, a lot of different teams that are working. So a great example of if you have a safety meeting, and that's really how United Way campaigns got into the fall time frame, is we still are often piggybacking on top of open enrollment conversations or other things about employee benefits. So if you have any, even if it's, I know we have some that are moving towards an early summer because that's when they have their people together. Even if it's, for example, a kickoff is a group with a really quick 5 minutes presentation, and then we do a more departmental approach later in the fall or later that month. I think again, the goal is 100% contact, and just thinking out about what type of attendance is required or not at your meeting is an important thing to be thinking about. The timing of the ask, and this also, I was sharing with Greg earlier when he was here, I said there's just so many things that can impact the success of a campaign. So for example, we can do everything right, we can have great incentives, we can give people information throughout the year about United Way, we can get meetings scheduled, but if we go into the meeting, for example, and also thinking about what will be shared at that time, if we are piggybacking on an existing meeting, for example, if there are potentially issues with performance, or you're seeing errors within production going up, and you're going to be having conversations with the employees at that time that United Way is also there. I guess my recommendation is just to be cognizant of what's on the overall agenda of that meeting, because I actually have, believe it or not, gotten up and asked employees to donate after they'd just gotten some pretty bad news before in a company setting, and nobody that's here today, but just wanted to put that on your radar, that it can undo a lot of hard work if it might not be anything personal about United Way whatsoever, but an employee might not feel real good about if my job's just been threatened or something's going on. Just think about from their perspective what else they might be hearing in that meeting. And it's also fantastic if you want to put us at the front of that type of session. We can get in, get out. We don't have to hear information about what's going on internally with the company. We're happy to go at the beginning. Also happy to wait towards the end if that's what you think is best, but that going first sometimes helps address if there are more confidential or challenges that you're going to have to address with the employees. We've gotten the United Way portion out before that conversation happens. Does that help at all? Other things that we've heard done in different ways, how much to suggest giving, and this is something that we do want to be cognizant of the needs that your employees might have, and that's why in some of the more minimum wage type employment settings, which you would not believe how generous people are across the spectrum of how much they make. When you look at our annual report and things about who, from a corporate standpoint, where the most giving happens, it's often at companies that might surprise you, where it's not just people that make a larger salary, but it's working families that understand the importance of what we're trying to do. So I would encourage thinking about the audience that you're talking to, but also not discount, for example, and that's why we're adding the dollar or the hour of pay that you can contribute. We had that requested by an electric company, which you might not think of all the people who could afford to give at a very high level. That might not be one that comes to mind immediately, but their employees wanted to be able, instead of volunteering, I want to be able to give an hour of what I would earn to this type of cause. So I would also encourage you to be cognizant of your audience, but also not assume that they can't give because of their situation, because we see quite the opposite, that often it's the people who possibly have been impacted by this type of service. And you have great suggestions to start with. If you'd like to, on the back of your brochure, again, we'll have this year what $2, what $5, up to $20, what some of those gifts can do, because it's really surprising to see how generous people can be. One thing we also want to encourage you to think about is if you are giving out pledge cards in a setting or work in an environment, for example, manufacturing, where likely once you give out those cards, there's not going to be much of a way to follow up with people. We highly recommend that you have them fill those pledge cards out during the meeting and turn them back in on the spot, or minimize the turnaround time, because what often happens is once they go out the door, unless you have, for example, a department head or a team leader or somebody that's going to be in charge of collecting those back or making sure there's follow-up. What we've seen happen before, and again, I appreciate when we can learn these things and I can share and kind of teach from that experience, is when you give them out, you likely won't see them back unless there is in that meeting here's how to turn them in, here's who to give them to, or make it easy and turn it in right now, because often what happens is once people think about it too much, or we don't want anyone to make an impulsive decision that's not well informed. We just know that the lack of follow-up that's often in some of these larger type of settings can impact you getting those back. We also have that pledge report form. We talked about why that's important. The handling of cash and check, maybe this is just on my mind because we go through an annual audit every year, and that's happening right now at our office as I speak. And we are having all of our documentation looked at. And so when we go to the community and say, here's how much we raised, we need to make sure all of those dollars are backed up with some kind of documentation, that we don't just think, oh, this company, we're going to send you an invoice for about this amount and we think you'll give the same corporate gift as last year. That's not a good practice for any organization, much less the high standards that we hold ourselves to. So that's why on the pledge report form, we'll ask to have you count if there's cash or check. If you can total that up for us when we come to pick it up, we'll double check it when somebody gets there on site at your organization, and then we'll verify it again at United Way's office. So that way it goes through 3 checks to make sure that cash and check and also your pledges, that all the numbers are matching up, and that can help us avoid us contacting you later to make sure that the numbers are good. One thing I can also share is that if pledge cards are not the best way for you to report back to United Way. For example, we can take a spreadsheet of your employees and how much they give, and ideally their contact information. And what might be shocking to know is that we actually don't know who many of our donors are at some companies. We don't always receive pledge cards back, and it is so hard for us to maintain a relationship with donors if we don't know who they are and we can't communicate with them, as Katie was alluding to earlier. So what we're really after is employee name, amount, and their contact information, at least email, ideally mailing address, so we can send them their tax letter and a thank you. So that's the information we're after. If the pledge card is not the best way for you to get that to us, we can talk about that. We, again, just need that kind of documentation for our records and are happy to get that from you however is most convenient. The last piece that I have to share today is about frequently asked questions, and you have a lot of this information in your manual, but wanted to take the time to, if there's anything you're hearing about, questions like, is United Way advocating to put in a bus system? That's a great question that we're hearing a little bit right now. We want to make sure we have an accurate response to that gives people the information they need to make an informed decision about whether to support us. So you have, I think the biggest thing to take away from the FAQ section of today is the worst thing we can do is not address a question. And that's why we're always looking to find out what those questions or concerns are. So if any employee in your meetings has a question, you might not know what the answer is, but having your manual close by so you can see what some of the frequently asked concerns are would be a great step, as well as that's why United Way likes to be there in your meetings, because that way you have a backup. We likely know we very rarely get questions we've never heard of before that are so off the wall we really don't know ourselves. So certainly that's why when you have a meeting, we like to be there, not to take up any more time than needed, but just to be that backup for you if somebody has a concern. We want to make sure that that's addressed and addressed as quickly and promptly and accurately as possible. So the best place you can go for, if you want to read every question we've ever heard from people, these are archived on our blog at unitedwayck.org. There's a blog link. And during the campaign, and we'll plan to do this again this year, every Tuesday became FAQ Tuesday, and we took on a specific question and wrote more in depth about how some of our processes work. Again, for those, because there are those, how does the watch work? Don't tell me what time it is. I want to know what your process is internally. We took those questions on for people in a little bit longer format than we included in your packets today. But several questions that we thought would be good for you to be able to answer is that we do have board representation. That is who governs our organization locally, which is independent from all other United Ways. Often that's not, that's something that even until I started working with United Way, I didn't realize that United Way of Central Kentucky is going to be different than Metro United Way, that is different from Tri-County United Way. If you strip that United Way from our name, we actually could function as a separate standalone 501c3 nonprofit with our own board of directors that represent our entire service area. We make those grant awards, which most people know us for best, through a rigorous process that the agencies in the room can attest to. And we have some graphic visuals as to how that process works. But that's driven, again, by volunteers. It's not United Way staff in the room deciding who we like or who we want to fund. But it's as a transparent process as possible, because that's what our donors deserve, is to know how this works and to know the logic and the things that we're thinking about as those decisions are made. So it takes about 750 to 1,000 hours a year. It is intense, and there are people in the room who have been part of that all-volunteer team who have made those decisions. And we also put their names publicly on our website along with our board, so people can see, here's who's making those decisions. And certainly if you ever have questions, I know they're welcoming and excited to share that experience that they've had. And that's what we're also trying to bring into your workplace, are those people that have seen this behind the scenes and can share that story. You will see the Facebook communication. There's a Facebook ad that goes around, or it's a post that makes its way around the internet, it seems, every November, every fall time of year, where there's misinformation about United Way executive salaries. We really try to be transparent in A, that's a local decision, and B, if you want to know how much it is, here's the amount. Yes, I do. I'm paid by United Way, but it's up to really donors to decide if that amount is reasonable and if you're getting out of it what you're investing and getting a return for those dollars. So those are decisions that we leave up to the individual donor, but we provide all that information so you can see and not just go off of what Facebook said. We also are the region's largest grassroots fundraising effort with no federal or state funding. So what might be interesting for people to know is that every year we start with this many dollars and we have to raise those locally. We aren't in a state budget. We don't get money that we don't have to work for locally. So that's sometimes a question that we're really glad when we can answer that one. And we've talked about that 168 campaign meetings last year. That meant well over 100 volunteers that helped coordinate, get us there, get our agencies there, get a volunteer there to speak. So we really couldn't do it without you as a relatively small office staff at our local United Way. This is a common question. I wanted to make sure this number will likely be going down here soon, but this is per our audited financials. And since our audit is currently underway, we'll get the new rate out as soon as that's official. But currently, our overhead rate is 19%. And in your manual, you have where that falls relative to recommendations made by the IRS and the Better Business Bureau. So not only is it 19%, but that's relative to 25 to 35%, which is the recommendation of those two third-party organizations. So we're well below both of those recommendations. We also go through a really rigorous process with the Better Business Bureau and GuideStar as well. We don't have to do either of those things, but we do because we think it's important that our governance is so strong that people get to see that we're willing to put ourselves to the test and make that public. So you can see our filings to all of those organizations as well on our website. This is a graphic that we made in response to that, the heading of the post I was referring to earlier that makes its way through social media always says, think before you donate, and it has a lot of misinformation out there. So we created our own, and feel free, we will share this again as the campaign gets closer. If you see anything out there that you're just not sure if that's accurate information, or if you get an employee with questions, again, please let us know because we can share all of these resources. And honestly, I've had sometimes people tag me on Facebook. I had somebody with an agency actually that had someone who was concerned that we were funding Planned Parenthood, which we are not. We have independent third-party verification on that. And somebody asked that on social media, so they just tagged my name in the post, and I was able to jump in and take it from there and give them a link to the website that says, the programs that are listed in your manual and on your pledge card, that is where our money goes, and explain that process a little bit clearer because again, what one United Way does is not what another one is necessarily doing. And once that person had the facts, they actually felt really bad, and I was like, no, seriously, don't, never apologize for having a question. What we never want to do though is know there's a question and not provide that information, because we appreciate when people have that trust to come to us with those concerns, and usually we can provide that information right away, and it really clears everything up. So here are some examples of other questions that we take on in that FAQ Tuesday post. There's links to where you can go to that blog page on our site and see if you would like more information about any of those. But again, if you see questions that we could address or that maybe our explanation isn't very clear, we do these in response to what we hear from you. So I wanted to ask, at this time, I know we did a similar exercise last year where we actually made you write out your questions that you had. Are there any that we haven't talked about today that you hear frequently in your workplace that I could answer today, or that you would like us to do a better job overall of addressing? One thing that we'll have as well, it's in development, is for that question of what are you doing in my county or in my community, we'll have county level information as well that can be brought into your campaigns. It's a double-sided flyer. That's a great resource for not just what is United Way doing overall, but who are my local people that are involved with it, what programs are available to me, what are we funding in terms of agency and program grants there. So it's a great resource that we'll be able to share with you, again, once that's finalized here in the next couple weeks. So my final question and thing that I wanted your take on today was we've seen some United Ways that have, for example, put a whiteboard up in their campaigns and let people write their comments or concerns or questions on that for us to be able to address as United Way or through our employee campaign manager. Even taking a leap, that's a pretty big step to put yourself out there in such a way. Wanted to get your feedback ideally on, is that something that would be a good approach? Is it opening up a can of worms that, things that aren't already on people's radar? Would it be too hard to manage? That's just something we're thinking about. So I'm happy, and I think we're not going there at this time, but we knew this meeting was coming up and we were talking internally about this and said, well, why don't we ask you guys who know this work and are dealing with it day to day, wanted to get your feedback on some type of concept like that, that maybe could try to draw out some of the questions or concerns that people might have. So any thoughts on that? If it's a terrible idea, it won't hurt my feelings whatsoever.
Megan, I know from my perspective, we're in five or six different buildings, so we're spread all over the place. So a board, one single board wouldn't be helpful. But, especially since we're in the age of electronics, a way to, maybe a poster to send people or pushing information to people would be better.
Yeah.
So
Or we could have a hashtag of how to send in your question if you want.
correct.
Great feedback. That's essentially the problem we're trying to solve is how do we, because some of your companies, for example, we know we've been there talking about United Way for 10 years. And, if we don't have 100% participation there, obviously there might be something underlying that we could address better or more effectively. So that's what we're after, is trying to figure out how do we better communicate our work, and certainly want to take those questions off the table if they are part of a giving decision. 211 will be a number as well as a website that is a real-time database with services provided across all 5 counties for anyone who is in need. So if you have employees who are struggling, who need any kind of help, any resource in the community, it's going to be a big undertaking over the next several months, but we are starting next week with a full-time AmeriCorps Vista member on this project to put all the information in, and you'll be able to call 211 24/7 365 and have a professionally trained counselor help walk you through the different services that are available in any of our 5 counties, and certainly we'll keep you updated as that number goes live. But a great resource, because again, a lot of HR folks end up being social workers in your spare time when you see interconnected issues going on with families. So this will be a great thing. You can point them in the direction of 211 and we'll get them plugged into not only United Way funded programs, but any agency or service that's available in the community that could possibly help.
Thank you. The next, United Way Born Learning Academies. This is a really exciting opportunity that we're able to bring actually to most of our counties. Hardin-LaRue, or Hardin, Grayson, Meade, and Breckenridge County now all have Born Learning Academies. Born Learning Academies are focused for children ages 0 through 5 and their caregivers. So essentially what these are free workshops open to anyone in the community, regardless of your income, background. Anyone's able to join. I believe even Megan has brought her son to some Born Learning Academy sessions before. And essentially, it's a way to teach parents, caregivers, to be their child's very first and best teacher. So in these workshops, the children get to do a fun hands-on activity. The parents get to learn simple things of how to interact with their child every day to help prepare them for kindergarten. Whether it's just driving down the road and pointing out things of different colors, doing laundry and talking about that. Very simple things. And also a free meal is provided at these sessions as well. They will begin this fall. We have a full list on our website, and I'm sure that information will go out to you all as well. But again, a service available to you, your employees, their families. It's a great resource, again, to prepare your children for kindergarten and ensure that they have all the support that they need. We have the Young Professionals Network in Hardin County, and there's one also in Meade County as well. And essentially, the Young Professionals Network, it's a partnership with the United Way of Central Kentucky and in Hardin County with the Hardin County Chamber of Commerce. And the goal of this organization is we have so many young people in the community who want to be involved, who want to give back, who want to make a difference. And our role in the Young Professionals Network is to provide those opportunities. Last year, we had a board expo where we invited agencies and organizations in the community to come talk about what they do and also offer a board position or a committee position to the young professionals who want to get more involved. So again, another great resource for your employees or maybe even yourself if you want to be more involved. Next, we have the United Way Fellows Program. This is something that we've actually just started last year. We're now in our second year, and it's been a great program for those who want to learn more about not only what is United Way doing in the community, but what are the issues facing our community? What are some approaches we can take together to address those issues? So this is a 6-month program that you're part of, that we meet each month, and each month we focus on a different area. So 1 month will be health, 1 month will be basic needs, 1 will be financial stability, 1 will be education, and we talk about what we're doing in each of those areas, as well as different ways for you to get more involved. We have these meetings at different locations of the agencies that we fund. Actually this week, we're meeting at Helping Hand of Hope to talk about financial stability in the VITA and Bank On program. We've met at Feeding America. We've met at Springhaven. So it allows you and your customers, your employees, if they're interested, to get a really good firsthand experience of what United Way is doing in the community and how you can plug in to help, because there's so many different ways. So this should start back up in March. Again, we'll share more information to you when that happens, but we would love to have you part of this program. Something very new that hopefully you've heard about by now is Central Kentucky Serves. So United Way, we do a lot of fundraising and campaigning, but also volunteerism is huge in our work. A lot of the things that we do and our agencies do, we couldn't do without volunteer support. And we've always tried to been a good central location for those opportunities, but now we're so happy to have this new online website called Central Kentucky Serves, that thanks to the Fort Knox Federal Credit Union for being our sponsor with that, to provide these opportunities to you online all the time. So as an agency or organization, a church, a school, you can create a profile for free, log on and post any of your volunteer needs or maybe upcoming events, in-kind support that you need on that website. And everybody else as a user can log on for free, create an account, and you can go in and see these needs, and you can sign up right there on the spot to volunteer for that need or to be a part of that event or to learn more. It's really simple, it's really neat. We're excited to have it. If it's something that you want to incorporate into your organization and want some hands-on training, we do one-on-one. We can come to you to train. We can also, we're also hosting a group training in August that we can send more details about as well to kind of go over the features. But it's really neat as a volunteer as well, who maybe you are required to do so many volunteer hours or you just want to. You can actually build a volunteer resume within this site that you can print off that shows where you volunteered, when, how, and it gives all that information. So it's a really neat tool that we're really excited to have. Next is FamilyWise. So I'm sure some of you saw that when you walked in, the blue displays with the little cards in it. These are, it's a service brought to you by United Way in partnership with FamilyWise, and they're prescription savings cards. Again, free for anyone to use, whether you have health insurance or not. And essentially what it is, for a medication maybe that's not covered by your insurance or you don't have insurance, it offers a percentage, a discount off it for free. We have a table back. We want all of you to take them with you, to give to your employees, to use with your family. Again, it's a great resource. I know on our website we actually have a running total of the amount of money that's been saved by families here locally in our region. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure what that number is, but I know it was very large, surprisingly.
We're over $12,000 for the last 4 months.
Over $12,000 over the last 4 months. And again, this is just in the areas that we serve here locally. I know Katie's had experience with a family member using the card before, and it really does work. So we want you all to take those with you, use them personally. Again, if share them with your employees. If you need more, we can always order more. And we also have them now in Spanish as well if you need those. Next that we have is VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. This is a new program that we started this past tax season in partnership with Helping Hand of Hope. And essentially what VITA is, it's free tax preparation for working families and individuals. There is an income guideline for households. I believe it's $54,000. But you can go to, in Hardin County, Helping Hand of Hope, and have your taxes prepared for free. Well, why is United Way in the tax business? And it's essentially because for a lot of families, they're eligible for the EITC credit, Earned Income Tax Credit. They're eligible for the Child Tax Credit. And these are the nation's most effective anti-poverty fighting tools for working families. It can result in a couple $1,000s for families who really need it. They can use that money to have that savings account for that crisis situation, to maybe put a down payment on a car, to buy groceries, to pay off debt, just a good amount of money to help get them back on their feet. So United Way was excited to partner again with Helping Hand of Hope in Hardin County. We're now going to be bringing this to Grayson County with the Grayson County Alliances partnership, which we're really excited about this tax season. There's also a VITA tax site in Breckenridge and Meade counties. And in addition to that, we also have My Free Taxes, which is the United Way initiative. Again, free to anyone to use. The income guideline on that, I believe, is $62,000 per household, but that's something you can do online on your own. So instead of going to a tax site to have your taxes prepared, if you have a computer and the internet, you can do this yourself for free. And as it gets closer to tax season, we'll be able to share that information with you as well as information about the VITA tax sites. I know here in Hardin County, we're going to try to be remote this year, if possible, to maybe go into some businesses to prepare taxes on the spot for employees who could use it, because we know a lot of times people are working around the clock and it's hard to take advantage of some of those services. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about for your business, please let us know. This was something that they put in the paper to show her receiving the award that we had given out during our last Live United awards event. But just showing publicly the good work you guys are doing in the community. Let everybody know about that. And not only is it great for your organization, it's great for us as well, for people to connect. Oh, so-and-so partners with United Way. And maybe even open up that conversation of someone who wants to learn more and be involved, to know they could go out and talk to you about that. They're in their second campaign season with us and already making huge strides. Usually it takes a few years, so when you start a campaign or a new business, to build up the giving, but it's because they stay so involved. I think they've been able to have the huge success. On top of the special events that they support with us, volunteer engagement, and then again, they have that upper management support, which is so beneficial. And we're really excited to have Trina with us as our leadership chair as well, who hopefully be a great support to you all as well. All right, does anybody else have any examples of what you do in your workplace, what seems to work, some successes, some creative ideas, anything you'd like to share with the group?
We've got a long relationship with the United Way, and I think it's mostly because we have complete support from our management team. They've always supported us, and whatever we wanted to do, we bring some kind of unique idea to them, and they're like, yeah, go ahead and do it if it'll raise funds. And we do the Jeans Friday like you all have talked about, and we do a gift basket auction. Those things raise a lot of money, as well as our normal payroll deduction. And we also, they talked about the 100% participation. We do that as a team approach. We have where we group our employees on teams, and then they encourage each other to hurry up and get their donations in so they can be eligible for team prizes. And and they'll call each other and say, "Look, have you got your money in yet?" So because they want to get theirs in first so they can be in on the prizes. And then we also have individual incentives that range from just gift cards to even a day off with pay. But we just do a lot of different things, and we may come up with something even new for this fall. But really, that's what we do, and we just kind of work as a team approach.
A lot of the ideas actually come from our associates, and then I coordinate those, help them with those. So this is our board that we have in our break room. I think, when you make these goals and you tell them, this is, really where we want to reach, this is what we want to do for our campaign, but then they never really know where it goes from there. So throughout the campaign, I can't get in there and update our board quick enough because they want to know where are we with our numbers. So this kind of keeps us updated where we are with those. And then as I get the emails, different slides and that sort of thing that Katie was talking about, I try to print those off and put those on the board so people have the opportunities for, maybe they don't come directly to me, but they know where to go if they want to volunteer, or the new prescription cards that Megan dropped off with us last week. We have those available in HR now too. Some of our incentives for giving, last year we just started, anyone who turned in their pledge card within the first 24 hours was eligible for a drawing for a vacation day. Vacation days are huge incentives where we are. So everybody loves to get that. And I think really it kind of gets people to just go ahead and just do it. The quicker you can get them to turn them in, the easier it is for me. And the easier it is for everybody else just to do it and be done. So we had really great turnout. We had one vacation day for our day shift and one vacation for our night shift. So that was a big draw. Also in our incentives program, We have vacation days. So there's 3 different levels of giving. Your first level, you're eligible for 1 vacation day. The second level, you have your name put in twice. The third level, your name goes in 3 times for those vacation days. We have had Staff United Way. I think it's something that that was more of our management team, so it was a little bit more focused. This year, we're really interested in a lot of our salary associates are a very young generation. And so this year, something that we really want to press in our campaign is to get our younger associates more involved. How do we get them to give? So I think we were talking to Megan last week about doing a salary only meeting where we can really get those associates more involved, whether it be their pledge cards, a one-time donation, volunteer opportunities, the young leadership, those types of things. Like, how can we get these, our engineers, our sales teams, those types of people more involved? A few of the special events that we do, like I was talking about, a lot of them are not my ideas. So our Gifts to Grow, I think I talked a little bit about that last year. Basically, we just have 2 big bins that we sit out in our common area. And when people have too much from their garden, as opposed to taking it out on the floor and passing it out, does anybody need it there? They'll bring it in and just put it in the bins. And then each week we take that and we donate it so that local people have the opportunity to have fresh vegetables instead of the canned and boxed and those types of things. Something that's going on right now that I'm helping coordinate, our IT department has a surplus of old computers, printers, dock stations, mice, keyboards, all that kind of stuff. So we're doing silent auction for all of that. People turn in their bids to me, and then the highest bidder wins. So for us, we have so many desktops that are used daily. So if they're not quite up to speed for what we need to use on a daily use, doesn't mean that one of our associates can't use it at home for the occasional, you just need to get on and check the internet, that sort of thing. So we've already raised about $250 in our phase 1. We're in our phase 2 of that, and I'd say we'll probably collect about that much this time around. We've obviously, everybody's heard about at Christmas time we do the cut. We do steel, so we have several different lasers and we cut out different parts and we sell those to our associates. All that money comes back to United Way. We do shirts in March, so that's a big draw. Everybody likes to wear their team shirts. They get very competitive with the basketball. So those are just a few of the things, but I'm always, anybody that has ideas, please bring them to me. I want it to be kind of an open for all of our associates, not just here's your pledge card and this is how you give. What are some other things that we can pull in, some of those that aren't comfortable giving in their weekly paychecks?
How we took the approach was during our town hall quarterly meeting, we invited United Way in to talk to our staff, and we played the Making Choices game, which is a very interactive, fun game that I got a lot of good feedback from our staff, so that might be a good option. These ladies can help you on how to do that. And something else that I came up with was just a little graph that I printed out on colorful paper and handed out to employees. And it just shows that if everybody gives a little, we can make a big difference. So in our situation, we have 26 pay periods per year. If each employee gave $1 per pay period, we have about 171 staff members, we could raise over $4,000. So I just wanted to show that a little bit can make a huge difference. Volunteer engagement, we are big supporters of Give a Day for Hunger. We encourage our staff to come out and support that. And then we do kind of break it up for management support, like our nursing staff. I have somebody delegated to make sure that their staff members are turning in their pledge cards. And so it's just a really group effort.
The dots for people. Why is their investment important? who are they helping? And something that I've learned over the few years I've been with United Way is, believe it or not, we all have a United Way story. Whether you've been impacted by United Way funded agency or not, I'm sure each of us can think of a time where something unexpected has happened, where you had to depend on someone, or maybe just some time in your life where if it wasn't for that person, you're not sure what would have happened or how you would have made it through. That is what United Way is here for. And so today, actually, we have a great story.
Kick off our campaign. And that morning, as I was sitting in my office, because our all-staff meeting is at 7 o'clock. Yeah, breakfast starts at 6:45. It's great. It hit me that, and I never thought of this, but it hit me that morning that as a child in elementary school, I would have been a Springhaven kid. I probably would have lived at Springhaven for a period of time with my mother. Now, obviously it had a much different outcome. At the time, her husband, my then stepfather, was alcoholic, he was abusive. He was a great guy when he was sober, right? But, you know, I thought back, I remember doors being kicked in. My mother has a knot in her nose for a reason, okay? I remember him trying to burn the house down, and we weren't there, but he was too drunk to set a proper fire. Him chasing us, me in the car, her trying to get away, him chasing in his car through the neighborhood. So why didn't that happen? Why didn't I end up at a place like Springhaven? Well, we were fortunate enough that in our neighborhood we had a place to run to, and that was my grandparents' house. Okay, and they had extra room. They had extra income. Okay, we had a place to go to, and you know, when Megan and I were talking about this, I guess I really hadn't thought about the value of, or the importance of the agencies and what they step in and do sometimes in terms of providing supportive relationships, right? Okay. We live in a highly mobile society. Not everybody lives and grows up in their hometown with your grandparents around the corner. It's just not the way it is anymore. I mean, we have people in this community moved here for jobs, they moved here for the military, for all kinds of reasons. But we don't have that kind of life anymore that I grew up in. So when I thought about it, and I thought about it even more, I look back and I realized that my grandparents, yes, they were Springhaven. They were Helping Hand. They were the community health clinic. Because I went to the dentist, I went to the doctor, right? But my grandparents did that. I wasn't, I don't want to know if it's a correct term to call it an agency kid. But, you know, if you went back in time as a child in elementary school, this was probably somewhere between first and third grade, probably, in my life. If you had taken bets, if you were betting on people, okay, you would have certainly not bet on me. The odds would not have been in my favor to be a bank CEO, to have a wonderful wife for 25 years, 2 kids in college, you know, and I have an average life, right? I have, you know, and the average house, average kids, you know, the 2.5, you know, pets, the whole thing, right? I define normal. Well, back then you wouldn't have betted on normal for me. And so, while I was not an agency kid, you can think forward, you know, into our community. Unless you have supportive relationships, unless you have places to go, that's where these agencies step in. They are attempting day by day, relationship by relationship, to change somebody's odds, to try to change the outcomes, whether it be just a meal for that day or food, or whether it be health care, or whether it be helping them find a job, or a different banking, get into the banking relationships. I don't know, but if you step back and look at all the agencies, the work you're doing, the Panther Place, I mean, you're trying to change the odds for a lot of situations that people are in.
At your tables, if you could take about 5 minutes to think about and share with the folks sitting around you your United Way story, and hopefully it relates to one of these points that tie back to United Way. A time that you needed help, a time when you had someone like that grandmother that was in the right place at the right time that kept you on track, or how you're getting back now to change our community, to make this a better place and change odds for kids and families. So let's take a few minutes, if you don't mind, to share that, and then we would love to hear a story or two after.
Agencies available at a time in our lives many years ago when we needed help that that we would have liked to have known about that. We would have liked to have heard about it. So we didn't really have a good United Way story to tell where we were helped, but wish we had been at some point.
With the picture of what's going on with that individual or that family, also that you can, something for your employees to know, you can continue to designate across county lines